Well, the term vocation means call, and so as I look back at my experience of growing up, I feel like I was always called to the Sisters of Providence. That somehow they were an important part in my life, all of my life. Actually, I first thought about being a sister when I was in first grade. And I had a Sister Judith Ann, who was my first grade teacher, and she was just beautiful. And she was lovely, and she taught me to read, and so it was like, I just wanted to be kind of like her, So even at that age, that young, I did think, that I maybe wanted to grow up and be a sister. And the feeling certainly would come and go, not so much through grade school. My 8th grade year, I thought about it again. And I shared a little bit of that with my mother. And she was not at all supportive of me thinking about doing that. However, my dad was. So, and of course, this was my dad's brother who was a priest, and my dad's sister who was a Sister of Providence. So, and actually my dad had been in a seminary for a period of time in his own life. So that idea of being of service to the church in that way, wasn't foreign to him at all. And I went through high school, and I continued to think, but I dated in high school, I dated in college here at St. Mary of the Woods, and but that idea of being a sister never left me. And so I was getting ready to graduate from St. Mary of the Woods College, and the guy I was dating at the time, Don, he asked me if I would marry him. And I thought about that because just graduating from college and not knowing exactly what I was going to be doing, and it just seemed like, well, maybe that would be just a really comfortable way to move into life, not to have to worry about all the other things. But I realized that I loved him, but I didn't love him in the way that I believed that I wanted to love a person that I would spend the rest of my life with in marriage. So I said no. And actually, the irony of all that is that he's now a priest. So, and so I graduated from St. Mary of the Woods College in 1974, and at that time, the leadership wanted us to work a year before we entered. So I got a job teaching at North Central High School in Indianapolis as a biology teacher and a coach for volleyball. And I was just loving it, and my best friend growing up and I got an apartment that we shared together, so I was kind of learning what it was like to live on my own and be independent, and so I was really enjoying my life. And so, but I really wanted to be a Sister of Providence, so I went ahead and filled out the application, and I turned it in. And I got a call from Sister Bernice Cooper. So she called me in March, and she said, "Jenny, I just want you to know you've been accepted." And I said to her, "I'll tell you what, I'll call you later." And I hung up. And, she didn't call me back, and I didn't call her back for quite some time. And I think, as I reflect back, I just was really enjoying what I was doing in life. I was on my own, I was earning my own money, and I was just having fun. I was getting grounded in my being a teacher, and I just loved what was happening in my life, and it just didn't feel like the right time. So I really stepped away from that idea for quite a while. But the interesting thing is that it was like God never stopped, calling me, never stopped nudging me. And I would push that idea away and say, no, I don't, I'm going to be the only 98-year-old postulant, But it didn't happen. And actually, I stepped away from going to Mass on a regular basis for a period of time. And so I think what happened to me as I look back, I think that I needed some time just to come into my adult faith. I had been living in a faith life of what I grew up with in the church, and I wanted to know who I was as an adult Catholic, as a person living the gospel as an adult. And I didn't know that at the time, of course, but I think as I look back that that's really what was happening. And then this idea of being a sister never really left me, being a Sister of Providence. So 7 years later, I called back, and fortunately, they had thrown out all the old paperwork and we got to start fresh.